Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Governor Katie Hobbs, and we are here today at Ideal Air Conditioning, a leader in the energy efficiency space. From day one, I made a commitment to forging a resilient Arizona clear. While our state experiences historic economic growth, it's my priority to ensure this growth is done in a way that is sustainable and takes into account the real environmental challenges we face. There is a false narrative that sustainability stands in opposition to growth, and I'm here to say that that is just not true. Here in Arizona, we are a national leader in creating the green jobs of the future. Nearly 60,000 Arizonans are working in the clean energy industry already, and that number is expected to grow dramatically because of the Inflation Reduction Act. And I'm proud to announce that Arizona is the top state for new clean energy jobs in communities of color as a result of the funding from the Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, with 12,120 jobs created. This is the kind of change that is possible when we invest in the future and when we invest in our communities. All in all, the Inflation Reduction Act will bring an estimated $4.1 billion of investment in large-scale clean power generation and storage to Arizona by 2030. This funding will further fuel Arizona's leadership in building green businesses and creating green jobs. I'm confident that in partnership with cities like Phoenix and in coordination with leaders like Mayor Gallego, we will effectively leverage funding to create good-paying jobs for Arizonans and chart the path to a brighter future for all of us. My message today is this: we are well prepared to continue our economic growth, and we will do so sustainably and responsibly. There is no better time or place to invest in our future than right now in Arizona, and I look forward to what's to come. And with that, I will turn it off to Mayor Gallego.
Thank you, Governor Hobbs. Thank you for your leadership on clean energy, including making sure we have a clean transportation future. I am so pleased to join with all of these leaders to celebrate the historic investments in clean energy and fighting climate change. It's hard to think of a city that is better positioned to benefit from the Inflation Reduction Act than the city of Phoenix. We are already leaders in clean energy, whether it be electric vehicles or solar energy, and the Inflation Reduction Act will only help us take that to the next level. We want to make sure that we partner with Governor Hobbs and the state of Arizona to make sure we are ready to take advantage of the variety of different important pieces of the Inflation Reduction Act, whether it's making sure our residents are ready to install solar or to purchase electric vehicles, as well as our workforce teams are ready to prepare people for the amazing jobs. Since it's a little toasty today, I thought I might highlight some of the solar energy portions of the Inflation Reduction Act. It provides tax credits cutting 30% off the cost of rooftop solar, making it $7,000 cheaper on average to install solar on your roof, and 30% of the cost of community solar projects as well. The Act provides additional incentives for solar projects at affordable housing properties and in low-income communities. We already have been a leader in the city of Phoenix in that, and our residents have loved the bill rebate from having solar energy in the parking lot as well as the shaded parking. The city of Phoenix and Solar United Neighbors have partnered on Phoenix Metro Solar Co-op to help residents go solar. Several successful rounds have helped more than 127 homeowners install rooftop solar. With new federal tax incentives and a financial assistance program for low to moderate income homeowners, this program expects to attract even more members this year. We're also very excited that last week the Biden administration released programs where we at the City of Phoenix can directly receive incentive payments to install solar. Under previous legislation, you often needed a taxable entity to be able to receive those credits, so we can do more directly with what's called direct pay programs that came out just in the last week. Along with immediate rebates, we're working to maximize the long-term benefits of these investments for our residents and businesses by making career pathways more accessible. We've partnered with Maricopa Community Colleges to make sure that we have great training programs for areas like electric vehicles. So if you're looking for a career opportunity, we'd encourage you to check out our Route to Relief program, which can provide that training at no cost. As the governor mentioned, we already have 60,000 Arizonans working in clean energy, and we are expecting 82,000 green energy jobs in Arizona over the next 5 years. We are truly well positioned to take advantage of this historic piece of legislation. We are also very focused on the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, which provides us with a unique opportunity to collaborate across sectors to develop strategies to cut emissions and reduce air pollution. We want to make sure our residents are healthy, and the Inflation Reduction Act provides $4.6 billion that we can compete for to implement solutions. Phoenix has a goal of a carbon neutral economy by 2050, and this legislation will help us get here. It's a truly historic piece of legislation and so important to communities like Phoenix as we enter the hot summer. And now I am happy to celebrate a new statewide effort, the Office of Resiliency, which is focused on making sure we all benefit from lower energy bills and reduced greenhouse gas emissions. I'm happy to introduce the director of the office, Marin Mahoney.
Thank you, Mayor Gallego, and thank you to the Arizona Technology Council and Ideal Air Conditioning and Insulation for this opportunity to speak today about Arizona's clean energy future. Today, we celebrate the historic federal funding packages known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, and the possibilities they present for Arizona. From increasing reliability in the rural cooperatives' electric systems, to expanding our clean energy workforce in communities of color, to lowering energy costs for families, the strategic deployment of these federal dollars by Governor Hobbs will strengthen the resilience of our communities all across the state. These funding opportunities are investments in the future of our state and in the future of the people of Arizona. In just our first few months, the Governor's Office of Resiliency has already applied for over $51 million in federal grant funding. Over the summer, we will apply for many millions more, and we're just getting started. These funds include more than $153 million in rebates for energy efficiency projects and highly efficient electric appliances for families. With those funds, eligible homeowners will be able to receive between $2,000 and $4,000 towards efficient appliances. Over the long term, residents will find lower costs and greater comfort, and they and their neighbors will benefit from a cleaner and more reliable, affordable, and resilient electric grid. Additionally, low and moderate income families who want to purchase highly efficient electric appliances will receive up to $14,000 in rebates per household, improving families' health and safety for years to come. In advance of that award, the Governor's Office of Resiliency is building key partnerships with contractors, local nonprofits, utilities, and other critical stakeholders to ensure that every eligible family and small business knows about these rebates, and to ensure that that wants to participate in the rebate can do so, and that they can do so with as few hoops to jump through as possible. We are also building out a workforce development strategy to ensure that Arizona has the people power to accomplish this massive endeavor in every corner of the state. Governor Hobbs and our office are committed to ensuring that this funding leads to stable, secure, good-paying jobs for Arizonans. We are grateful to President Biden and to the members of the Senate and Congress who fought for these funds for Arizona. Governor Hobbs and the Office of Resiliency are ready to deploy those funds to invest in a cleaner, brighter, more resilient future for the people of Arizona. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Bianca Buliga with the Arizona Technology Council.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bianca Buliga, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Arizona Technology Council, the state's premier trade association for science and technology companies. For those who are unfamiliar with the council, we host 100 tech-focused events every year, engage in pro-tech and pro-growth public policy advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels, and offer small business resources to help our member companies grow their impact. I stand here today on behalf of our 750 member companies to thank President Biden and our leaders in Congress for their bipartisan work on the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. These federal clean energy investments are already being felt right here in Arizona. In fact, a report released earlier this year estimates that 12,000 jobs and $4 billion of clean energy investments have been announced in Arizona since the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. The IRA also provides American solar manufacturers with a $10 billion investment tax credit to build new manufacturing facilities for clean technologies, as well as $30 billion in tax credits to accelerate the domestic production of solar panels, wind turbines, batteries, and critical minerals processing. This funding will help boost the robust growth already underway in Arizona's solar energy sector. In Q1 of this year alone, Arizona added 6,457 megawatts of solar capacity, putting the state at a number 5 national ranking for total megawatts installed. And on a more personal level, these investments also help me, as a recent first-time homebuyer, take advantage of the 30% cost savings for my rooftop solar installation, keeping $7,000 hard-earned dollars in my pocket. These federal investments are also critical for council members like Core Power, a battery cell developer who's expected to receive an $850 million loan from the U.S. Department of Energy for its battery factory in West Phoenix. These opportunities also open doors for educational institutions like Arizona State University, which has been selected to receive $70 million from the U.S. Department of Energy for a new Clean Energy Manufacturing Innovation Institute. The Council invites you to learn more about how our members are leveraging federal clean energy investments by attending our inaugural E-Mobility and Clean Energy Summit next Tuesday, June 27th at ASU Skysong. In sum, Arizona companies, universities, and families are already experiencing major benefits thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act and Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Communities of color, in particular, will benefit from new job creation and the equity focus at the heart of the Justice 40 initiative, which tackles decades of environmental underinvestment in underserved communities. For these reasons and so many more, we call on congressional leaders to protect these historic investments and continue expanding on them. We cannot allow any cuts or rollbacks to threaten Arizona's continued economic growth, job creation, technology innovation, and clean energy leadership. And with that, I'd like to introduce Elena Cremat, co-owner of Ideal Air Conditioning and Insulation and founding board member of the Building Performance Association. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I'm one of the founders of Ideal Air Conditioning and Insulation, and I'm really glad to welcome you all to my shop this morning. I'm also a founding board member of the Building Performance Association, which basically advocates for energy efficiency for buildings across America. Our company is locally owned and operated here in Arizona and employs about 21 team members today. We specialize in energy efficiency and services such as HVAC, insulation, air sealing, and energy audits. We're vertically integrated, which basically means that all of the contracting work that we do is completed in-house by our team. There is an E for the Future jobs report that was done in 2022. 93% of Arizona energy efficiency type businesses have fewer than 100 employees, and most have fewer than 20. Arizona's energy efficiency industry is comprised of thousands of small businesses like ours, so it's important to remember that. Energy efficiency is much more than an environmental protection topic. We help customers save money on their energy bills through properly designed and installed HVAC equipment, insulation, and air sealing services. Our home performance services help guide homeowners in the right direction to improve the comfort and indoor air quality in their homes. Oftentimes, a lot of, not so focused on energy efficiency HVAC companies, what they'll do is they'll put way too much air conditioning on a home, and that will cause their energy bills to spike and also cause problems with comfort in the house. We save a lot of money every year for homeowners and have many stories to tell. but it's not uncommon for us to help reduce our customers' energy bills by 50% and sometimes more. In a specific scenario, we took 2 AC systems, basically 8 tons of cooling capacity, took the 2 off, put 1 on, 5 tons of cooling. And so what we were able to do is actually lower their bill by 52%. So it went from $320 in 1 month to $154. We have many examples like this, but this is just one. Energy efficiency is a public good, and it deserves appropriate incentives. The bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act will help more Arizona families afford these important home energy efficiency upgrades. There are new federal tax credits right now. So right now, homeowners can get up to $3,200 per year for energy efficiency services like high efficiency heat pumps and insulation. They can claim that tax credit every year on their primary residence from now until 2032. The majority of our customers are in the middle class. So believe it or not, they are middle class Americans. And we will be able to help more middle class residents with these tax credits and homes rebates that the Office of Resiliency is working on securing for Arizona. We must remember, if Arizona doesn't secure the funds, they will go up for grabs, and any state will be able to grab them. So it's important that these dollars remain here in Arizona today. Our Governor's Office of Resiliency is actively pursuing and allocating funding Arizona should get for the homes and HERA rebate programs. So by this time next year, we should also have residential energy efficiency and electrification rebates that will make it more affordable for homeowners and renters. We're doing important work, and there is so much more to be done. The IRA and the IIJA includes hundreds of millions of dollars in new training funds specifically for the energy efficiency industry that will help more Arizona families afford these important home energy efficiency upgrades. This much-needed funding will help build a local pipeline of very skilled tradesmen, workers, technicians, and help small businesses like mine invest in training for their employees and new hires. We can't wait to help more of our employees get their certifications for this important energy efficiency work that we do with the funding that is allocated to us. We've seen and felt the economy shifting. I think everybody can agree on that. And we're also seeing a pullback due to the inflation and cost of HVAC equipment and also just general goods have been increasing. So these rebates will help keep businesses like ours thriving during an economic recession and help us keep employing skilled workers that deserve great career paths that not only grow them personally, but also do a public good to all. So with that, I would like to introduce you to Michael Barrio, Senior Policy Principal, West Advanced Energy United.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Barrio. I am a representative of the Advanced Energy United, and we're a national association of businesses working to achieve 100% clean energy and electrified transportation. We represent companies that are creating the full spectrum of technology solutions and services we actually need to get there, as well as many large energy consumers like data centers and manufacturing. And many of our member companies are actually investing in doing business right here in Arizona, like SunPower, Microsoft, Freeport, Enel, and Shell Recharge Solutions, to name a few. And we are very excited that Governor Hobbs has made it a priority to work with federal partners, and as a result, Arizona is already benefiting from historic federal investments in clean energy technology from the IRA and the bipartisan infrastructure law. Our industry sees so much promise in Arizona. Advanced energy jobs here grew by 4.8% from 2020 to 2021, faster than all other Arizona jobs. Electric vehicle related jobs grew the fastest, and Arizona happens to be ranked 8th in the nation in number of EV registrations, so that's something. The state is also projected to receive $11 billion for clean energy investments, thanks to the federal IRA and last year's IIJA. And just this year, nearly 12,000 jobs and more than $4 billion of clean energy investments have been announced in Arizona since the passage of the IRA. These bills combined make it easier for the state's utilities to invest in renewable energy and storage, which protects Arizonans from rising utility bills because of outdated power sources. And they'll also help Arizonans make their homes and businesses more energy efficient and enable more people to buy electric vehicles. So altogether, these investments will save Arizonans about $9 billion in energy costs every year. And what's most important probably is that it's important we prioritize investing in our power grid, right? Making it stronger, more reliable, and more resilient. We have to ensure that it can withstand extreme weather events and that it can recover quickly when something goes wrong. A recent study you probably all saw warned that if a multi-day blackout in Phoenix coincided with a heat wave, nearly half the city's population would require emergency department care. And I bring this up because this scenario is not science fiction. It's here, it's happening, and it's one of the reasons we're very happy to support Arizona's application for funding under the Formula Grants for Preventing Outages and Enhancing the Resilience of the Electric Grid program. The state is expected to receive millions in formula funding for this program, and that's funding that can go directly into grid resiliency and reliability. So again, thanks to Congress and President Biden, and of course to Governor Hobbs for helping to ensure that every Arizonan can turn on their lights and count on them to stay on when they need them the most, and keep our homes cool during their scorching summer days, and also for Governor Hobbs' commitment to investing in Arizona's advanced energy and reliability future. And with that, I'd like to introduce Kelly Trombley from Ceres.
Hello, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Kelly Trombley. I represent Ceres. We're an organization that works with investors, companies, and other private sector leaders to accelerate the shift to the clean economy that is good for our planet and for the bottom line. Ceres was proud last year to partner with some of America's most recognizable companies in support of the Inflation Reduction Act, including organizations with major presence here in Arizona, such as Common Spirit, Siemens, Salesforce, Mars, and more. Since then, we and our company partners have been working to ensure the law is implemented smartly at the federal level and to secure state policies that will help maximize the IRA's benefits here. And this is because businesses see clean energy as a real opportunity to reduce and stabilize utility bills, create jobs, and ensure U.S. energy security and global competitiveness, all while working to prevent the many financial and economic risks of climate change. And the appetite for clean energy is just huge. We've seen that more than 75 companies in Arizona have set a goal of being powered by 100% renewable energy. These are companies such as Apple, REI, and IKEA. They've come out so strongly for policy to support clean energy, in part to help them meet these goals. So packages like the IRA and the Bipartisan Investment, Infrastructure, and Jobs Act are exactly what they had in mind. Indeed, this law has kicked off a nationwide rush of investment worth billions of dollars, generating thousands upon thousands of jobs in American clean energy, manufacturing, supply chain, and deployment. Companies, consumers, and communities in red, blue, and purple states alike are already benefiting from all of this activity. And Arizona is especially well positioned to capitalize because its leaders are making clear to anybody looking to invest in clean energy that the state is open for business. And as we see today, some of the most significant recent clean energy investments in the country are being made here in Arizona. We can look to Buckeye, where Core Power and Siemens have partnered on a new major battery cell production facility that will create Arizona jobs while strengthening the U.S.'s electric vehicle and energy storage supply chain. And in Tucson, American Battery Factory is developing its battery cell production gigafactory that will ensure that this region has a prominent place in the clean energy transition. All of that, and it hasn't even been a year since Congress passed the most significant federal clean energy investment in history. So now is the moment to double down. We know the private sector is ready to go. And as clean energy and economic benefits take off across the U.S., it will only invite more and more investment. So with the public sector leadership we are seeing today, Arizona is in a great spot to maximize this opportunity. Thank you.
Right, and if I could have the speakers come back up to the podium,
We're
please.
now, this concludes our press conference. We're gonna open it up to Q&A, questions. Please keep it related to this issue first. We wanna get through it. If you wanna ask a question, raise your hand. Please state your name, the media outlet that you represent, and who you're directing the question to.
Hi,
Please.
Howie Fisher, County Media Services. I have a question for the governor. Come on down to the microphone, because if you don't say it in front of the microphone, it doesn't work. I appreciate all the discussion about electric vehicles and such. Electric vehicles in the state pay virtually no tax in terms of using the roads of this state, because they don't purchase gasoline. I have yet to see anything from you about making them pay their fair share, particularly since they're actually heavier than other vehicles and cause more road damage. How do we equalize this so that electric vehicles aren't being subsidized by those of us who are still driving, gas-driven cars?
We have a lot of problems to fix. This is on the list for sure, and we are working on fair solutions. I recognize that this is a huge issue as we look at depletion of highway funds and the need to make sure that everyone that uses the highways are paying their fair share, and electric vehicles are a big part of that. So we're working on solutions, and I think, given the legislature, that is challenging, and I don't think I have to spell out for you why.
Well,
Thank you.
how about advancing something? You're the ninth governor I covered.
Yep.
Governors propose things, governors come
Yep.
up with ideas.
We're-
How do you think is best?
We're
to
gearing
do
up.
a
We're
moderate
gearing up
step?
right now for next session. So
Thank you. Any other questions?
Governor,
Right.
I have a question about water, if that's okay. There was obviously this big study that was released that Governor Ducey hadn't released, and we found out about it released. Are there any other major studies like that that you're aware of that haven't been released yet?
no.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, another one for the governor, Nick Phillips from Capital Times.
You gotta be quick.
The Joint Legislative Budget Committee said yesterday state's on track to lose $175 million in fiscal year 2023. Is that a problem, and if so, whose fault is it?
I would blame the Republicans who wouldn't put ESAs on the table, and they're set to bankrupt the state. We've had this conversation multiple times, and I think we need to put it back on them. This is it's if the projections are accurate, it's out of control spending from taxpayers for people who are already in private school to subsidize their tuition.
Hi, Barbara, the Arizona News Radio. And when we talk about electric vehicles, I'll tell you a couple of concerns that I have. So the lack of enough electric vehicle charging stations. Also, you're familiar with the fact that some of these vehicles have been known to catch fire. Those are very real concerns. So how do we navigate around those two issues?
Well, we're working on investing in the infrastructure for electric vehicle charging. I don't. The catching on fire is something that is not in my purview. So, I don't know if you want to add to that, Erin. Or no. Yeah.
Happy to, yes, Governor. Thank you for the question. I would say that there are multiple grants, as Governor Hobbs mentioned, that we are going after. The Department of Transportation has been very active in this space, and we're working with many municipalities, including the city of Phoenix, in implementing or obtaining those grants in order to implement that infrastructure. Regarding the catching fire, that there are safety issues that need to come up in every industry. And we need to have regulations, and we need to make sure that they're safe and that we can, protect our people. But I would say that right now, that's what's happening.
So what kind of regulations? I mean, we all know what happens with lithium batteries. The larger they are, you've seen what happens with, you saw what happened in New York City with those electric bikes. Even cell phones have been known to overheat. So what kind of regulations do you think are appropriate?
I'm not equipped to answer that at the moment, Howie. Thank you.
Anybody prepared? No, seriously, you've got a whole group here involved with renewable energy. Anybody here prepared to talk about how we deal with the fact that some vehicle manufacturers tell the car owners, don't park the car inside? I mean, anybody willing to answer that?
Governor, regarding a possibility of a massive blackout that lasts for several days, what have you heard about the actual chances of that happening, and what kind of contingency plan is the state preparing to take care of that if it does happen?
As you mentioned, this report just came out. Our energy grid is reliable, and we're continuing to make investments to increase the reliability every day. And certainly, our emergency management folks across the state are working on contingency planning for any type of scenario that might occur from the situations in the recent report.
So it's not very likely, are you saying, then, or is it, how great of a possibility is it that we're going to have a multi-day blackout that would send half the state versus half the city to the emergency room?
Yeah,
Extremely
please,
unlikely.
thank you. Yeah.
Can we talk about the most specific,
Do you have any answer for that?
It's extremely unlikely.
Extremely unlikely.
Yes.
Okay, can we go back to the governor on, the biggest electricity generation proposal that's on the table right now is the SRP proposal to expand Coolidge generation plant. What's your stance on that in light of?
I'm not gonna speak to that right now. It's still on the table, and it's working its way through the process. I don't know what option. I'm not prepared to speak on that.
Let's take one more question related to the event topic.
Can I just interject? I'm sorry, but regarding the grid and all this, the issues that we have, I mean, it is obviously an issue, but it's unlikely. However, energy efficiency in buildings, that will help stop this. Okay, so that's what's so important, and that's why companies like mine and others with energy efficient heat pumps, insulation, and incentives for these types of services will help stop the very real possibility of us having to build multiple new power plants. So,
Isn't everyone plugging electric cars in, on an increasing basis, going to increase that possibility?
There are a lot of technological advances, not only energy efficiency, which it's not a stagnant industry. It's technology that is constantly innovating and is dynamic. So with all of the energy efficiency implementation, as well as the technology advances, then there's also demand response, which holds enormous promise, particularly with regarding electric vehicles. So with all of those or technologies, I would say that will be very critical to keeping prices down, and that requires, that keeping the utilities from having to build greater power plants, and then that results in less prices, lower prices.
And one of the reasons we're excited about the Inflation Reduction Act is it invests in a variety of different solutions, one of which is electric vehicles. We think electric vehicles make sense for us in Phoenix. Right now, there's a real challenge with air pollution, and so the zero tailpipe emissions can be very helpful as part of the many tactics that we're taking. We think it's helpful from an economic development perspective because we do have a critical mass of companies in this area that are investing. And so we are also concerned about oil markets, and there's been a lot of uncertainty in that area, so having an additional fuel source for vehicles is very exciting for us. The Inflation Reduction Act and Infrastructure Jobs Act gives us the chance to modernize our bus fleet, which we are very enthusiastic about, as well as our school districts. Unfortunately, we have challenges with asthma, and so having zero tailpipe emissions on school buses can help our youngest and more vulnerable residents. There's certainly no perfect solution, but if we look at the balance, we really feel that electric vehicles can be a very important part of the future for us in Phoenix.
Mayor, strictly to that point, though, I just want to say.
Howie,
Question to either the mayor or the governor. What's the sort of, with the solar, the commitment to solar, what's the buy-in from the utility companies? Because there's always been a challenge about how much excess energy they're going to buy back. And so I'm just curious, has any of this been presented to them, and what has been your reaction to whatever they've had to say?
Do you want me to? So the utility companies have rate plans that help contribute to making solar more affordable. They are not coupled with the tax incentives. It makes it much more likely that the payback will work out for many Arizonans. So we're talking on average about $7,000 in additional help, which balanced with the rate tariffs from the utilities can make this investment make sense. We do not have the most generous rate structure in the United States, but because we have such great conditions, so many days of solar, we're so competitive. We're very excited at the city of Phoenix to have more solar installed on city facilities than any other city in the United States, and we've found that that has been very helpful for us, both in terms of backup as well as reducing energy bills. I mentioned earlier, one of our most popular programs is at our public housing where we have solar on the parking canopies, and then it's about a $15 offset on our residents' power bills. So you'll be not surprised to know that they have asked for us to look at more opportunities like that where they can reduce their power bill and get some shaded parking.
But can the utility companies buy?
Oh, I'm sorry.
One final question, please.
No, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. I know it was mentioned before, I believe, by Governor Hobbs that there's a specific commitment to communities of color with this initiative, with this funding. And I'm curious about specifically, materially, what that'll look like, how that'll be measured, because as we know, especially in terms of heat deaths, those tend to correlate with parts of, especially the city of Phoenix, that have historically been redlined. So what will that commitment materially, numerically look like?
So we actually just hosted the White House last week with the Council of Environmental Quality Environmental Justice Task Force, and they were really looking at Justice 40, which is several metrics focused on environmental justice. And in the funding, you get priority for environmental justice communities, so they're really trying to be intentional about that. Among the new funding tools we have is the PROTECT program, which would allow us to put climate and heat at the focus of transportation planning, and I think Phoenix will be very competitive for that. I would still love to see more tools from the federal government. Right now, heat does not count as one of the federally recognized disaster categories, and as you mentioned, that we lose way too many Americans, including people in this community, to heat. So for extreme heat events, I would love to see FEMA declare that as a category that would be eligible in extreme situations. And I think we are seeing some interest at the federal government, but hopefully the momentum will build.
So, I'm sorry, I do have a follow-up if it's okay.
The last one.
Sure. Will you and how will you be working directly with communities of color in that push to gain more federal tools to do work that you can do now?
We at the City of Phoenix have tried to really put Justice 40 at the forefront in our planning. And for things like our climate action plan, we've worked to really go out into our entire population, including communities of color, in doing bilingual meetings and talking to our residents about what they need most. I mentioned the solar program at our public housing. That was something residents, when we had community meetings, were enthusiastic about. Our residents have also told us to think about micro-mobility, things like biking and walking that maybe make sense for individuals, and invest in the public transit system. Our residents have said that there are some areas where they'd really like to see better transportation options. And the nice thing is, again, these pieces of federal legislation give us additional funding. For example, environmental justice was one of the reasons that administration cited in partnering with us on riverfront redevelopment, so the Rio Salado area, and that'll help us get $25 million to build along the riverfront, including a pedestrian path and a pedestrian bridge, which we hope will give more people transportation options, invest in a traditionally uninvested area, and hopefully be catalytic to future growth and opportunities in communities that absolutely deserve it.
Thank you. Just add on to that really quickly. I apologize. I wanted to add on to that from the state perspective that we do have a commitment to Justice 40, and part of we'll be working with our partners, communities, City of Phoenix, and other communities across the state, and we are also doing hiring soon with that as a focus.
Governor, can I ask you one last question?
We're going to call it. We're going to call it.
Mayor?
So now, members of the media, if you would like to do a one-on-one interview with any of the speakers up here, please let Raina know. Raise your hand. Raina can connect you with one of the speakers. Let her know who you would like to interview. Thank you all for being here.